We have a desperate Zohran Mamdani stuns supporters by stating things can't actually be free. Wow! Wow, what a surprise! Begging for more money to fund his transition after 1 million has already been raised. Every communist is a professional swindler. New Yorkers got scammed big time.
It's been 2 weeks since we won the election. We've been pretty busy.
Rejects the Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani.
Too often, this is a time of just celebration as opposed to preparation. We want to make it both.
A lot of these things are new, but one of them is pretty old.
I hate his face. Once again, it just gives me, like, Uncanny Valley vibes, where I'm like, this is not a fellow human. This is a predator. Not like, that doesn't mean like sexual predator, just like someone looking at you like you're prey, you know? And it just gives me the creeps. And also the way that he talks in this commercial reminds me of like, hey, Billy Mays here. Or like, hey, have you heard of Slap Chop? You know, it kind of gives me those feelings. Not like Billy Mays was a bad person, but the way that his advertisements were always really weird. And this guy's using that same kind of like salesmanship pitch in his voice.
Fundraising. But why are we fundraising? Well, we have less than 50 days until we take office, and we have a lot to do. We have to vet the 50,000 resumes we've received. Thank you. We have to keep paying our incredible team. Thank you. And we have to plan not just our inauguration, but our policy implementation. Now, unlike the campaign, transitions do not get public matching funds from the city.
That coat reminds me of the coats worn in that image. Was it North Korea where like Kim Jong-il was walking with someone else and then they like spirited away someone out of the picture? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Was it Stalin erasing people? I just remember the erasing people photo. That was Stalin. Yeah, it reminds me of those coats. Russians, you know, all the commie dictators kind of blend together at some point. Thank you, Chad. Yeah, Stalin, the Stalin photograph. A jacket kind of reminds me of the jackets being worn in that picture. Gee, who'd have thought more government workers means more cost?
So that 8-to-1 match, gone. It's up to us to raise the money. Usually campaigns take that as an opportunity to rely on wealthy donors, but that's not us.
You were literally taking a picture with Alex Soros. What the fuck do you mean?
Already been incredible. We've raised more than $1 million in just 2 weeks. Our average donation is around $77, and more than 12,000 of you have donated so far, which is much lower than the last administration's trend.
What a wild thing to say! That seems really weird. That seems really weird. 1,219 average donor. He's like, you guys are just so poor. Why are you not donating more? What a wild thing to say, smiling, right?
Transition. But we're still asking for your help because we need to raise $4 million in total.
Why?
So January 1st can be the day we start to deliver, not start to prepare. I hope very soon not to have to ask you for money. But until then, I'm asking for you to go to transition2025.com and give whatever you can. I'm asking.
I think we found the new Bernie Sanders. I am once again asking for your financial support. It's just $1,000. Can't you afford just $1,000? Why are you watching me when you can go work and give me $1,000? You wanted stuff for free? Why aren't you giving me more money? What the fuck? He's emphasizing his low average donation because he wants to be seen as a populist, relying on lots of small donors rather than a few big ones. It's still a weird thing to say. Like a very weird thing to say. And communist saying he's gonna stop asking for money. What a funny joke.
For you to go to transition2025.com and give whatever you can to help build a New York that everyone can afford. This is your city, and I can't wait to get to work. No, I'm kidding. Thank you, guys.
What?
Thank you.
Oh. That fake laugh is so awkward. What the fuck was that ending? If somebody told me that this was like an AI parody, I probably would have believed them. That's so fucking weird. That's so fucking weird, man.
You said you would arrest Benjamin Netanyahu based on the 2024 International Court Arrest Warrant. Next UN General Assembly, as mayor, would you do that?
So I've said time and again that I believe this is a city of international law, and being a city of international law means looking to uphold international law. And that.
What does he mean by New York City is a city of international law? I'm pretty sure it's under the federal jurisdiction of the United States. So, like, what does he mean by this?
It means upholding the warrants from the International Criminal Court, whether they're for Benjamin Netanyahu or Vladimir Putin. I think that that's critically important to showcase our values. And unlike Donald Trump, I'm someone who looks to exist within the confines of the laws that we have. So I will look to exhaust every legal possibility, not to create my own laws to do so.
On the other hand, this is all.
I will look into every legal possibility to not have to create my own laws to do so. But you're saying you will create your own laws to do so. The USA does not follow the International Criminal Court. Yeah, yes.
Also a world event. Does that not count a little bit?
Well, I think we are a global city, but I also think what New Yorkers are looking for is consistency in the way in which we talk about our values and follow through on them.
No, New York City is not a global city. It is an American city owned by America and thus by Americans.
And that's why I think these warrants from the International Criminal Court, they are worth fully exploring every legal possibility to actually follow through.
Such an interesting thing. Such an interesting thing. Mamdani doesn't have the authority to arrest any foreign national, much less a foreign leader. I mean, I have no idea what's going on with Netanyahu. The only thing I remember is, his address about fucking Germany. Phoenix DS, thank you. Gotta hate how they show their globalist hand when they speak. They don't abide by the laws of the country they're in. They want NATO laws. It's very weird. It's very weird. Just him telling on himself, Kirsche. He doesn't see himself as an American, and he doesn't see the city he will be ruling as a part of America. I mean, yeah, but there's a lot of people who will just be like, oh, that's great. I love hearing these things. I love hearing these things. Immigration consultants in the U.S. have devised a plan to bypass Trump's $100,000 H-1B visa cost by first getting the employee a job in Canada for 1 year. They call it L1 parking.
You're not going to believe the wild new strategy Indian companies have figured out for US tech jobs. Okay, I'm intrigued. What is it? To get their employees into the US, they're first sending them to work in offices in Canada or the UK. That sounds completely strange. Why would you go to Canada to get a job in the US? It's a brilliant workaround for the new $100,000 H-1B fee. They call it L1 parking. An employee works in the Canada office for 1 year, which then makes them eligible for an L1 intra-company transfer visa, allowing them to move to the US and completely skip the entire H-1B mess. That's genius. Exactly. It's a long-term strategic play that turns a visa role into a global talent pipeline. So getting that dream US job is now a 2-year chess move, not a simple application. Absolutely. Share this with an NRI friend who needs to know more about evolving global strategies.
And they just say it out loud. But also, this kind of ties into what we talked about. I don't remember if it was last stream or if it was 2 streams ago, but some of the Christian colleges in the middle of the Midwest, they take on people on student visas, and then they're able to give them work visas immediately after they graduate. I don't exactly know, or remember rather, how that scam was working, but we saw multiple full graduating classes of only Indian nationals. So that's another scam that's going on at the moment. And this is Air India says 30% of passengers on India to US flights ask for wheelchairs. Most are able-bodied travelers scamming the priority boarding system. Real disabled passengers get left short. And then you can see in this video, I don't know if that is copyright, so I'm just going to turn the music off. But you can see just how many people in wheelchairs are lined up. I've been on some pretty busy flights, and I think the most I've ever seen is 3 or 4 on one flight. So kind of wild that they're just yeah, you know what? This is an easy way to scam the priority boarding. And here's another video of Indians taking all the wheelchairs at airports and leaving the disabled without needed assistance. If they're doing this at airports, do you think our elderly are being scammed in our healthcare system too? That's just insane to me. Actually insane to see that many. Actually fucking insane. I feel like India and scams go very hand in hand. Yeah, I'm thinking of all the gift card scams, man. Music, thank you. Between the years 2000 and 2025, known scamming comprised anywhere between 2.85 to 3.33% of India's total GDP. Imagine having scamming embedded as like part of your cultural GDP. That's fucking crazy. Says ICE announces new operation to conduct welfare checks on the 450,000 migrant children the Biden administration placed with unvetted sponsors, some who turned out to be sex offenders and gang members.
Alert, ICE announcing a brand new operation to conduct welfare checks on the 450,000 children that the Biden administration placed with unvetted sponsors, some of whom were sex traffickers, gang members, and abusers.
And yet the liberals will still cry about separating children from their families without any sort of awareness about how many of those families are actually their real families. These people need to be vetted if they are coming in here with children. And by vetted, I mean they're probably here illegally, so that child needs to find its actual family, and the trafficker should probably be charged.
The Trump administration has already located more than 24,400 children. And some of these stories are absolutely heartbreaking, like this one. A 1-year-old unaccompanied minor crossed the border during the Obama administration. That little girl is now 12 years old. During her 11 years in America, she lived with a series of relatives and endured horrifying abuse. According to Fox's Brooke Taylor, she was found in the custody of 2 sisters who have now been arrested. The 12-year-old was found, quote, with injuries all over her body, extreme malnutrition, and an infected gash on her head and zip ties around her wrist.
First of all, that is incredibly demonic and demented that this happened. Second of all, they said that she was with relatives. So these are even like beyond separating children from family that liberals cry about all the time. This was with her family. This was with relatives, and she was still treated in this manner. This is why it's very important to know who is in here. 11 years she suffered. 11 years that this one child suffered. Imagine how many more have suffered or met an unfortunate end in that 450,000 figure. And all of these criminals were the ones prioritized by people on the left.
Among those who abused this innocent child were her one-time sponsor, a distant uncle that she was placed with in 2024, despite being an illegal immigrant with a criminal conviction.
Why was he allowed to have a child placed with him if he was an illegal? Shouldn't he have been deported? Shouldn't he have been deported? Why was he still here? Why does the left protect these people?
That sponsor, that alleged abuser, was given temporary protected status by the Biden administration.
For fucking why?
Here is video that Brooke Taylor obtained of the Trump administration arresting that man just yesterday. This is just one of the nearly 500,000 children that the Trump administration is seeking to protect. And this operation—
They really don't give a shit about kids. They don't give a shit about anyone. If there's anything that like you've learned from paying attention to politics, it's that anything good that someone on the left says is merely for virtue signaling to get votes. Like, Republicans will say shit regardless of whether it makes them look good or not, but they don't actually do anything about it. The Democrats will say shit that makes them look good and then do something to protect criminals instead of the good things that they purport to say.
Comes after the administration announced that Operation Dirtbag, conducted in partnership with the state of Florida, resulted in the arrest of 230 criminal illegal immigrants, including 150 sexual predators. Here was Deputy ICE Director Madison Sheehan announcing that development.
In just 10 days, we've been able to remove, in partnership with the state of Florida, over 230 of the worst heinous criminals from their streets. Our job as law enforcement is to protect the most vulnerable. Democrats will tell you that that is the criminal illegal aliens who they have let run free in our communities, but not this group of law enforcement. We know that it's the children that is our job to protect.
I love to see how many ICE operations are going on. This is probably my favorite thing actually happening right now, is the amount of ICE deportations going on. The more bitching I see about, oh no, ICE is coming to our communities and our farms and our convenience stores and our daycares and our churches. And I'm like, yes, thank you. Make them go to more places. I love this. This is what I voted for. Would I like to see more deportations? Abso-fucking-lutely. Abso-fucking-lutely. But I think this is a very good start. And my one wish, hands together, eyes to the sky, my one wish is that they would stop listening to Democrats trying to prevent them from deporting people and just continue doing their jobs. So after watching that video that we just watched, they also said several months ago it was revealed that the Biden admin set up a hotline for migrant children to call if their sponsors were abusing them. 65,000 plus children called in and no one answered.
This is what the American people voted for because they saw 4 years of the carnage that these open border policies plagued on the United States. And we're talking about the NGOs that they used as middlemen to carry out their operations, like the Catholic charities they used to facilitate, normalize, and accelerate illegal immigration. And
it's very interesting that they talk about Catholic charities. It's very interesting that we have Christian universities being used as immigrant visa funnels. It's also very interesting that things like autism charities also get taken advantage of. I have more tabs on the update to that because we did cover the autism charity fraud in Minnesota months ago. But there's been an update on where that fraud was specifically going. And I'm sure you will be incredibly shocked at what we were funding with US taxpayer dollars. But it's very interesting that all of the religious organizations that seem to end up co-opted and hastening the destruction of the country are Christian and Catholic. How come there's no Jewish organizations that seem to be outwardly doing this? How come they don't try to use any Islamic organizations? Makes it really jogs the noggin why they infiltrate the Christian and Catholic ones instead.
To this country. Ms. Hopper, you've worked closely with trafficking victims and survivors. I'd like to explore the role that the NGOs have played in enabling the trafficking and exploitation of unaccompanied alien children. Under the last administration, what safeguards were put in place to protect vulnerable unaccompanied children?
I previously discussed the post-placement welfare checks, which consisted of 2 phone calls. Again, if the sponsor didn't answer, the case was no longer followed up on. But there was also a notice of...
That kind of seems silly that, like, if you're doing a welfare check, you call twice, and if they don't answer, you're just like, well, time to give up. Wouldn't that be kind of a red flag if they don't answer after you've called twice? Like, I don't know, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe that's why she's wearing the evil person tunic here. That's like something I would expect to see, like, a bad guy in Star Wars wearing.
Concern hotline where people could report concerns about the unaccompanied child's safety. But what this administration found was from August 2023 to January of 2025, 65,000 calls went unanswered. Those calls spanned from...
Maybe she's not evil, and I'm just assuming because she's talking about the evil. I'm sorry, lady, if you're not the evil one, but maybe don't wear that tunic.
Complaints about stale bread, all the way to being abused, to one case where a child's call was reporting that grown men were coming into his room at night and they were touching him.
That kind of reminds me of that lady that we covered. I don't remember when or how long ago, but this lady had a restraining order on her ex-boyfriend because he had physically abused her and beat her very badly. And he was trying to break into her house, and she called the police, and in the 911 call, the officer was like, well, have you tried asking him to leave? And she's like, yeah, but he's trying to break in. And the police officer was like, or I guess 911 dispatcher, they were like, well, we don't have anyone that we can send to your house, so there's not anything that we can do. And he ended up breaking in, and I'm pretty sure he ended up raping her and beating her before he left. I can't remember if it was rape and beat or just beat, but I'm pretty sure it was both. This was a long time ago I covered this. And it's just like that. That's fucking wild, once again, that you would call what you expect to help you and they would just be like, yeah, bro, nothing we can do. Good luck. And I couldn't imagine as a child knowing that there's somewhere you can call to get help and just being left out to dry, how that would make you feel distrusting of literally everyone for the rest of your fucking life. Like, it's painful enough as an adult to be told, yeah, bro, we're not coming, sort it the fuck out yourself. But as a child, like, what? They can't even defend themselves in any way. 2 missed calls, must be the wind. Yeah, I think she's just reading it, so thankfully she wasn't the one saying, like, yeah, we tried calling twice, and that was it. That's how I was listening to it at the beginning, so I think she's just reading the bad shit that happened. That's what happens when you demand funding be cut from law enforcement. People can't be protected. I would like to see, much like teachers, I don't think deserve higher salaries right now, I would like to see police actually working for the people again before we start funding again.
Nothing happened with that call. That call went unanswered until this administration took office, went through those 65,000 calls, made follow-ups, conducted a welfare check, and now that child has been rescued and that sponsor has been arrested. These are the safeguards that were put in place, but accountability and oversight was not had.
And I think it's a little wild. I haven't really seen much of this, even on Twitter, right? I haven't seen much of anyone talking about all these children going missing and how something's actually being done after the failure of the Biden administration to actually do correct welfare checks on these kids. It's kind of mind-boggling how all of this was allowed to happen and how people on the left will not directly defend children being placed with abusers, but they'll just ignore that this happens and tell you that you're a conspiracy theorist if you believe it. We have this video. Nashua schools groom other people's children for medical experimentation with their gender-bred persons, progress flags, GSA clubs, hallway displays, and anything but safe spaces.
I'm here to respond to board member comments from your last meeting. First, there is no such thing as a transgender child. These are girls and boys struggling with autism, trauma, and depression who are being deceived and exploited. If you believe otherwise, tell me plainly what a transgender child is without resorting to lies and ridicule. Jennifer Bishop, you mocked me by suggesting that my research consisted of scrolling down that Google search and laughed. You lied. I read the research, I read the studies, and I invite you to discuss it with me. You also said, I'm so sick about hearing about children's genitalia. No one mentioned children's genitalia. Check the transcript. You lied to smear us with a lewd insinuation, and it's cruel to speak so lightly about children's genitalia when so many young people suffer chronic pain and sexual dysfunction from puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones. Mr. Claffey said, read about the Dutch studies, how that's been discredited. If he had read about them, he would know that Dutch studies documented experiments where doctors used social transition, chemicals, and knives to try to turn girls into boys and boys into girls. And of course, they've been discredited. That was my point. He said, I don't think our nurses are providing puberty blockers. Certainly, teachers aren't performing surgery. Nobody said they were. By teaching students that they might be in the wrong bodies, Nashua schools groom other people's children for medical experimentation with their gender-bred persons, progress flags, GSA clubs, hallway displays, and anything but safe spaces. I appreciate his comment. I didn't hear anything about the L or the G or the B, just the T's. The LGBT Courage Coalition and Gays Against Groomers, are fighting gender ideology in schools because this cult targets gender nonconforming children. They consider this the cruelest form of gay conversion therapy. None of you has found the courage to talk to me directly instead of mocking me among yourselves, although I've consistently invited you to do so. I hope that parents see how entrenched you are in this destructive and incoherent ideology and protect their children. If you wanted to learn more about what's happening with gay people fighting this, Wall Street Journal earlier this month had an article, The Growing Divide in—
This man came hella fucking prepared. Holy shit. This guy is just absolutely mocking. Oh my God. And it's wild to see this again, much like when I was first looking for houses. I was looking at Worcester, because Worcester has a great fucking historical district with a lot of really nice houses. And much like Nashua, the city has just gone to fucking shit. It's just filled with crazy people who want to just ruin the area, unfortunately. Nashua wasn't always a town filled with people crazy like my mother. It wasn't a horrible place. Probably when I lived back in New England, it was decent. I spent time in Nashua pretty frequently. I worked in Salem, New Hampshire pretty frequently. Like, I was in these places. These are the places that I knew very well, like the back of my hand, man.
The Rainbow Coalition,
yeah, Worcester, Mass.
More gay people are speaking out against gender ideology of trans and queer activists. Again, I invite you to discuss this with me personally, especially instead of making fun of me or misrepresenting what I'm saying among yourselves.
Misrepresenting what people say is pretty much all the commies are good for, you know?
Thank you.
Thank you. So speaking of Mamdani, this is a person. Zohran Mamdani made his first endorsement, Aber Kawas, a Palestinian activist who moved to New York City only last year after earning a master's in Islamic liberation theology from a South African university. You can't make this stuff up. First of all, Islamic liberation theology degree sounds just as absolutely fucking stupid as, like, the liberal arts basket weaving degrees we used to make fun of that weren't real, right? And also, why is a South African university having those kind of degrees? Many confusions exist.
I wear hijab, and that's obvious, and obviously that, you know, targets me for a lot of different things, and I get discriminated against for a lot of different things. But I also have a lot of different parts of my identity that are hard to deal with, that I don't even get to talk about because all people want to talk about is the fact that I wear hijab.
I don't know, it sounds like you like talking about it. I was like, I don't understand. Look at that, he's putting his own into power. Who saw that coming? Wow, I'm so shocked. I'm so shocked. Obviously, Aber Kawas, named for a famous Revolutionary War hero. Probably, yeah, definitely a famous Revolutionary War hero. That's a very short video. Very short video, but an interesting endorsement nonetheless. Meet Lawrence Reed. He is facing terrorism charges after setting a 26-year-old woman on fire aboard a Chicago train. According to reports, he doused her in gasoline and ignited it, saying, "Burn alive, bitch." Well, he didn't say white this time, so that means he's not racist. Reed has been arrested 49 times. 49! 10 of them being felonies, and yet judges kept putting him back on the streets. They failed to protect the public, they failed that young woman. This tragedy was preventable, and the judges who enabled it need to be held accountable. Motive? Oh, we can't imagine what kind of motive this man would have had. Clearly no motive. One of the bets he'll be released because unfit for trial. Wouldn't be surprised anymore. 49 prior arrests, 10 of which are felonies. How in the fuck was this man on the streets? He looks like he has some fucking drug-induced mush mouth as well. Like, what is going on here? Actually, judges ordered him held without bond. Thank fuck. I had 2 articles because I was like, Benny Johnson, thank you. I don't want him to go to jail. You want to rehabilitate him, right? It's me. I'm this meme. But I brought up 2 articles. Judge orders suspect to remain detained after woman set on fire on Chicago L train, which finally, at least someone did something. Imagine if they were just like, oh no, we're going to set him out on $5,000 bond. How low was the bail reduced to for Carmelo Anthony? You know, it's so tiresome. A man accused of pouring gasoline on a woman and setting her on fire on a Chicago L train in an unprovoked attack will remain in custody. A judge ruled on Friday saying he poses a danger to the community. The suspect, Lawrence Reed, 50, of Chicago, faces a federal terrorism charge for what prosecutors called a horrific and gruesome attack that left the victim with severe burns. During a detention hearing on Friday, Reed declined legal counsel and decided to represent himself. Very smart move. Telling the judge he would also like to be detained for his safety. Chicago ABC station WLS reported, this guy's gonna go for the insanity plea. 100%. He is gonna be like, I was insane, I know not what I did, you can't send me to jail. Once again, I feel like the insanity plea has been abused beyond all recognition. And if you are too insane to have committed a murder or a rape or some kind of horrific crime, or an attempted murder in this case, she was set on fire and badly fucking maimed. If you claim you are too insane to not do those things to random fucking people, why would anyone argue for rehabilitation? Those are people who should not be allowed in polite society. They are not capable of living in society. Rehabilitation means nothing, will do nothing. This is like the result of some weird mommy state that thinks of all of these people like children, and they're not. The attack occurred Monday night near the Clark and Lake station on a Chicago Transit Authority Blue Line train and was captured on CTA security video, authorities said. Authorities said Reed, who was also captured on surveillance footage, filled up a bottle at a gas station pump 20 minutes before allegedly pouring the liquid onto the victim, and then, after she fought him off and ran away, lighting her on fire. Prosecutors said the security footage clearly captures the suspect's face. So this isn't insanity, this is premeditated. Premeditated that he was like, I'm gonna take this gasoline and I'm going to set someone on fire. Why the fuck else would he do this? I bet he's going to get a lawyer who's like, he was just trying to get some gasoline for his car because he forgot to fill it up and he needed to bring the gasoline home to fill his car, and he wasn't doing anything bad with it, and he just had a mental break and unfortunate happenstance. Don't care. Get him out of society. JC Daedalus, thank you. Kirsche, sweetheart. The prison and legal system is not broken. It is working exactly as intended. It is working exactly as intended right now, which is the way it has been broken by commie fucks who want to cause chaos so that we beg for more state overstructure and they can come into power with their criminal class they used as pawns. The victim, a 26-year-old woman, had been sitting on the train looking at her phone with her back to the suspect when she was randomly attacked, prosecutors said. She was transported to a local hospital in critical condition with severe burns. She remains hospitalized with critical injuries. Prosecutors said Wednesday. Reed was arrested the following day and charged with committing a terrorist attack against a mass transportation system. He has not yet entered a plea, online court records show. But Kirsche, have you considered the 400 years of slavery and oppression? I don't care. I don't care about history. I care if some person is harming people. This is what happens when you disarm citizens, as Chicago has done, true and real. Prosecutors had asked the court to detain the suspect pending trial, arguing in a motion ahead of Friday's court hearing that he presents a clear danger and a persistent threat of terror to the community, based on the circumstances of the crime and his criminal history. The state court system has been unable to contain defendants' violent crimes, and federal intervention is now needed. U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Illinois, Andrew Boutros, wrote in the government detention motion. Reed has been arrested by Chicago police at least 72 times over the past 30 years, with at least 15 of the arrests since 2016, according to the filing. He has approximately 15 convictions, including for criminal damage to government property, drug possession, and an arson incident in 2020, in which he lit a government building in downtown Chicago on fire, according to the filing. Absolutely wild. The legal system has been stacked with activist judges, activist
You're
DAs,
getting a vigorous spanking because you've been a bad girl.
People who actively want criminals released to terrorize law-abiding citizens. And I'm assuming the hope is, if we try cracking down on criminals, they can run on a platform of like, think of all the poor, mentally ill people that are being put in places they don't belong. And then Bleeding Hearts will vote for the crazy people who want the criminals to roam free. And then they'll be able to use the things we've put in place to put away criminals to their advantage to target regular law-abiding people. At the time of Monday's attack, Reed was facing aggravated battery charges in the Circuit Court of Cook County for striking someone in the head at a hospital in Berwyn, Illinois, 3 months ago, according to the filing. A judge ordered him released from custody on electronic monitoring over the objection of the Cook County State's Attorney's Office. Another judge later removed the condition of electronic monitoring, according to Boutros. He was ordered to follow a curfew that would not have allowed him out of his residence at the time that the train attack occurred. Boutros said, I'm so tired, man. I'm so tired. He should have been fucking locked up, dude. But a judge ordered him released on electronic monitoring, and then another judge was like, he doesn't even need the electronic monitoring. He's beat some people up. He set some stuff on fire. He seems like a good, trustworthy guy. What the fuck, man? How are these people allowed just scot-free? Like, they probably laugh at the fucking destruction and chaos they're causing innocent citizens. Defendant has been leniently treated in state court, including receiving probationary sentences for violent offenses and pretrial release for a victim-involved crime. In exchange for such lenient treatment, defendant has consistently reoffended and delved further into criminality. Boutros also alleged Reed's behavior during his initial court appearance on Wednesday, in which he disrupted the proceedings by singing, babbling, and instructing the court to not speak to him, shows that he is also unable or unwilling to cooperate at this stage in the proceedings. Again, he's going to go for the insanity. People like this should not be kept in a system on taxpayer dollars. They've had more than fucking 45 chances, man. 45 chances to prove that they can be a functioning member of society. You should not get that many chances. And yet, even with that many, I think this is what, 49? He's proven he cannot be a functional member of society. You're real down for judges to be given the same sentences of the criminals they let go? Oh, I'm 100% behind that. Like, if you're a judge and you do some fucking lenient shit like this and they go out and commit another crime, just give the judge the same sentence. Fuck him. I don't care. Fuck him. He's defending himself. Don't think he's sane enough to plead insanity himself. I don't think this is someone who's actually insane. I don't think he's actually crazy. I think he knows what he's doing. And I think that he's trying to play to the insanity because it's worked for him every time before, right? He's gotten off 48 times before. So if it's working, why would he not continue doing it? And it's like, it's not even that you have to be smart to do this if the judges keep letting you off because, oh, this poor guy, you know? And then I'm hoping this article has a bit more information because I opened 2 articles on it. Violent Firebug who set woman ablaze on Chicago train as long rap sheet had no business being on the streets. Violent career criminal busted for setting an innocent young woman on fire in Chicago had more than 70 prior arrests to his name. Holy shit, that other thing only said 49. 70? As the feds raged that he had no business being on the streets. Lawrence Reed, 50, was hit with a federal terrorism charge after he was caught on camera dousing the 26-year-old woman in gasoline, chasing her through the train car, and then setting her alight on Monday night. Reed, who allegedly shouted, "Burn alive, bitch," when he was arrested, is due in federal court Friday for the attack. It has since emerged that Reed has a disturbingly lengthy rap sheet and was out on pretrial release at the time for an aggravated battery charge. Lawrence Reed had no business being on the streets given that his violent criminal history and his pending criminal cases. Reed had plenty of second chances by the criminal justice system, and as a result, you have an innocent victim in the hospital fighting for her life. Records show that Reed had previously been arrested 71 times in Cook County alone and convicted in 13 of those cases. And I see people just kind of like this guy, like they're just kind of standing there. Once again, our country has been conditioned to be like China. And when you see somebody getting attacked or having something bad happen to them, you have been incentivized to not intervene, because if you intervene, that victim might implicate you because, oh, God forbid, you might have touched them trying to save them. That you might be dragged through the courts for being a racist if you happen to defend somebody being attacked by someone of another race. Like, nobody wants to deal with that. We have stopped treating heroes as heroes, and we have started condemning them. And that has put us in a very precarious situation where we were already in a low-trust society, but it's further devolved to the point where it's like, I cannot get involved with strangers having harm come to them because I might have my life ruined for it. And it's a horrible way to live. This is not how we should be living. At the time of this week's fiery horror, Reed was out on electronic home monitoring stemming from an alleged incident where he knocked a hospital social worker unconscious in August. Once again, they're sending him for another psych eval. He knocked a hospital social worker unconscious. That's just one instance we even know of. Why would you send him to another hospital? This is someone, 71 arrests, only 13 convictions. Somehow, this is not someone that belongs on the street or in a mental hospital. This is someone who should not be in society whatsoever. Prosecutors had asked for Reed to remain locked up, but a judge overruled them, leaving him free to roam the street. Who's the fucking judge? They haven't named any name. Who's the fucking judge? Can we get them recalled? Can we have repercussions for being such an absolute fucking lunatic that you let someone like this back on the fucking streets? Despite his prior run-ins, U.S. Attorney Andrew Boutros said he wasn't aware of Reed ever legally being declared mentally incompetent. Mayor Brandon Johnson was among those to rail against the absolute failure of the system in the wake of Reed's arrest. This is an absolute failure of our criminal justice system as well as our mental health institutions. This individual was charged with dozens of felonies over the past 3 decades. He was clearly seriously mentally disturbed and was a danger to himself and others. The system that we have failed to intervene. And now we have a woman who's fighting for her life, and I'm praying for her and her full recovery. This is a horrific tragedy that should never have happened. I'm reminded of this tweet that talked about how Europe just kind of offed like the most egregious 1 to 3% of all criminals. And they managed to have a functioning society because they just removed the most egregious 1 to 3% of criminals. And that's all it takes is to just get rid of those insanely dangerous, violent criminals, and you can have functioning society again. Asman's 2%. Yeah, Asman's 2%. He said it very well, I think. The attack has drawn comparisons to the August stabbing on a commuter train in Charlotte, North Carolina, that left 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee Irina Zarutska dead. This horrific attack is exactly why we need communities to take safety seriously. Blue cities cannot allow another Irina Zarutska to happen. Duffy Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy wrote on X. Why did they say Duffy Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy? That's a little goofy. That's a little silly. But yeah, this woman basically is. She has her life still, but at what cost? She is permanently disfigured for life now because she was set on fire by someone that should not have been even here to do so. Sue the city for letting someone out like that multiple times. The judge needs repercussions for this. It's fucking wild that this keeps happening. And I'm just waiting for something to be done. I don't know if there can anything like from the federal government about this, but like what can be done to get these kind of people out of being in the judiciary? Horror as mother's severed hands are found by German motorway and her baby is discovered left outside a monastery. This was on November 18th. This was recent. German police are probing a gruesome mystery after a woman's severed hands were found on a motorway and her baby was discovered alive hours later outside a monastery. The remains were spotted on the A45 near Olpe in North Rhine-Westphalia after a driver reported seeing what looked like human body parts on the road. You know, that's just part and parcel of living in a large city. Sometimes you'll find human body parts. Don't worry about it. They really like cannibalism in Germany too. So it's like finding a gift. Like, you know, when you get your car robbed and they leave a knife behind. It's just a free gift. Officers arrived to find 2 severed women's hands and immediately closed the motorway in both directions. Around 70 miles away, monks at the Coptic Orthodox Monastery in Krofelbach, Hesse, found a baby left in a stroller outside their gates. The child was unharmed and appeared to have been placed somewhere it would be found quickly. According to Bild, fingerprints identify the dismembered hands as belonging to a young Eritrean woman living in asylum accommodation in Bonn. I'm so shocked that this did not happen to a German woman and wasn't involved with Germans. She's reportedly the baby's mother, according to local media. The woman had not been reported missing, and investigators say it remains unclear whether she is still alive. I've never had my hands chopped off, but I have to imagine, if that happens, not only are you in an excruciating amount of pain, you're probably losing a metric fuck ton of blood. I would be very shocked if that woman is still alive. They turned your country into a PvP server, pretty much. Police are now searching for her partner, the baby's father, who has vanished. That guy's fucking gone. That guy's fucking gone. They're never gonna find him. I just like, why? You know? Detectives have not confirmed if he is a suspect, but say they urgently need to find him. Speaking of not a suspect, they finally, in that like Singer David case, they finally named him as a suspect. I don't know why it took so fucking long. No further body parts have been found despite extensive searches along the motorway and nearby woodland. Prosecutors have refused to disclose the exact number of remains discovered, but investigators have ruled out a traffic accident. describing the injuries as deliberate. I feel like if I was on the German police force and I heard a fellow officer be like, what if it was a traffic accident? I would have to slap them. Like, there's no, like, shut up. Just shut up. Officers searched the woman's room at her asylum hostel but found no signs of violence at the accommodation. The A45 has since reopened, but homicide detectives say the investigation continues at full intensity as they try to establish how the woman's severed hands ended up on a motorway while her baby was abandoned outside of a monastery. That's a great question. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I feel very bad for the mother. I doubt she's still alive, which is, again, very unfortunate. It's good the baby wasn't harmed. That's kind of surprising. High-speed vehicles can do a lot of nasty things to body parts. If it was a traffic accident, you wouldn't find two severed hands neatly placed next to one another. Like, that's just... Come on, man. The cut would probably be very... Yeah, it would also be a very messy cut. And thank God the baby wasn't harmed this time. What did he... Oh, that's true. What did he mean by this time? The Watchman. Kirsche, you're glowing beautifully tonight, like righteous foxfire. Like, this makes me mad. Like, this fucking poor woman should not have been having this happen to her. Why is this happening in Germany, of all places? Like, it's fucked up. And obviously, no justice is ever going to happen. The police are eventually going to give up because they're not going to find the guy. If they do find the guy, I'll be fucking pleasantly surprised, but I very much doubt they will. Remember that in the other story, if the killer just calls the police and turns themselves in, they can no longer arrest him. He can just ring the emergency line and go, yeah, those were my hands. I put that there. That's actually true. I completely forgot about that other story where the kids, like, fucking brutally tortured their mother. And then they called the cops. The cops were like, well, they called us, which means they admitted to something, which means we can't arrest them because they know what they did was wrong. Germany, what the fuck? What the fuck?
Germany? What?
Stephen Miller goes on the news and says something great. He says something great. I love the things Stephen Miller says, but I would like Stephen Miller to do more, as he is in a position to do more. What a great fucking image as well. What a great fucking mouth on that man. Hey boy, you got a pretty mouth.
Stack the Supreme Court, appoint 10 radical loyalists, and destroy our entire constitutional order forever. In other words, they don't believe in systems, they don't believe in rules, they don't believe in laws. They believe in whatever keeps them in power. And if what they think keeps them in power is a military insurrection or a CIA insurrection, that's what they support. But if in a different setting, if, say, a soldier doesn't want to take the COVID vaccine, then they represent a threat to order in their view, and that person must be crushed and deprived of employment, deprived of opportunity. If a Democrat, for example, complains about election integrity, that person's a hero. If a Republican complains of election integrity, that person's to be jailed and incarcerated for life. This is the moment that we're in. This is what we're dealing with. So when we say that Democrats are communists, we don't just mean that, well, they believe in the state control of property. We mean they've adopted a method of thinking in which any use of force is justified for their end state of power and control. So they become a third world party, and we have to internalize that. We're not dealing with the old Democratic Party. We're dealing with a third world party.
Yep. 100%. Blessed video. It's exactly 1 minute and 11 seconds long. I love the repetition. But I love to see this in particular, because a lot of people will either, out of ignorance or trying to gaslight you, try to pretend that communism is not a problem, and anyone trying to tell you that it is a conspiracy theorist or someone living in the early 1900s, right? Communism is a massive fucking problem right now. Our parents, our grandparents, nothing was done as the long march through the institution was completed many, many, many decades ago. They've held on to the educational institutions regardless of what party was in the White House. That hasn't mattered. Nobody has done anything to curb the rise of communists in this country. And it's created many fucking problems that we have to deal with. And so more and more people in positions of power calling it like it is, calling a spade, and hopefully more people like myself start calling it what it is. This is why I never liked using the word woke in regards to, like, cultural contaminated media. Woke is like a fun buzzword shorthand But woke can be anything. Woke can easily be subverted to whatever the fuck they want to call it. Communism, nobody can argue that definition. You all know what it is, especially if you're someone who was unfortunate enough to have lived in a country underneath it. You love the 111 video length because I love the repetition. No, I'm not autistic. Shut up. So I love seeing more people in power call out the communist action for what it is. Because there's still so many people, again, either ignorant or willing to gaslight you about it, and more people need to wake up to the fact that as much as you hate hearing about the culture war, we've been in one since before anyone in my chat has been alive. So I don't really give a shit how much you don't like hearing about the culture war. The more it's spoken about by people in positions of power like this, the more people will understand just how dire the situation is. It's not just someone annoying you with talking about how they don't want equity in video games. It's people trying to vie for ultimate control over your entire fucking life, and I don't want to live in an equilibrium society. Calling it out is good, next step, but now we need action from those who can enact actual change. Yeah, again, when it comes to combating something subversive like communism, you need as many people as humanly possible to understand the climate of what's happening. Because if they don't understand the climate of what's happening and what communists are trying to do, a lot of people will see the reaction to getting communists out from destroying your country as authoritarian overreach. And communists will use absolutely everything they can to try and paint you as the dangerous aggressor and themselves as the victim to get more and more allies to be their useful idiot foot soldiers. And so you need more people to understand the absolute situation we're in dealing with communism. And unfortunately, there still are a lot of people who don't understand that. And I mean, even I got pushback in the last few years from people in my chat when I would talk about how a lot of this is just communism, how a lot of this is part of the Marxist planning, how a lot of this is Gramsci tactics. And people be like, no, Kirsche, you can't talk about that. People will just make it so you sound crazy and they won't take you seriously. It's like, if they think I'm crazy, they can learn when the boot comes down on them. Because like, no, dude, what are you talking about? Got pushback. You thought it was obvious? Yeah, there were people telling me when I was talking about Bridge that I shouldn't call it Marxist or communist. And it's like, that's literally what it fucking is, brother. What do you mean? Owners of a Michigan-based plumbing company were just arrested for employing and harboring nearly 250 illegal immigrants across 4 states, generating $75 million in revenue. This is only the start. Millions of jobs that belong to Americans have been stolen from us.
This is the business in question that has a Metro Detroit couple in hot water with federal investigators.
It's not just simply an immigration case that's charged, it's also money laundering.
And these are the federal documents investigators say detail the inner workings of the plumbing empire built by Moises Orduña Rios and his wife Raquel over a 5-year period. The Plymouth Township couple owned Orduña Plumbing, Manpower Supply, and allegedly hired undocumented workers, took their passports, and crammed them into tight living quarters. These photos from the criminal complaint. The federal complaint focuses on Rochester, New York, but Michigan, Ohio, and North Carolina are also mentioned as places the company operates. According to the complaint, out of 253 workers, only 6 were in the U.S. legally and permitted to work.
Fucking crazy.
The complaint claims the husband and wife generated $74 million in their plumbing business that was based out of Michigan.
So whenever you use money that is unlawful and you deposit it into a bank and you manipulate the banking system, that's money laundering. And that's what the government's alleging here.
Former federal prosecutor Matthew Schneider reviewed the 27-page complaint, which mentions investigators interviewing the workers on numerous occasions and the company's use of the WhatsApp messaging app.
In this case, you've got physical evidence, statement of the people arrested, and the government was listening to the communications of the defendants. So you actually have all 3 of those things. And whenever you have a criminal defendant speaking and being recorded, and the government has that evidence, that's extremely powerful, and the burden on that is really hard to overcome.
The company headquarters is in Plymouth Township, where we stopped to see if anyone was present who could speak to the allegations. No one was there.
I'm
we
so
then
shocked.
went next door.
It's pretty crazy how big the operation was, with very little activity that was there.
Jeff Goebbels, a golf pro, runs his business in an
Jeff who? I'm sorry, what?
adjacent office space. He said he'd see about 3 people in and out of the office, and he's stunned by the allegations.
Yeah, it's kind of frightening that they could get that deep. It just looked like a normal business that I didn't see a lot of like work trucks coming in and out, but that it was that detailed
it's spelled
with
differently.
The immigration issues that are going on today. It's pretty interesting.
The couple, whose address comes back to this $1.5 million mansion in Plymouth Township,
Holy fuck.
were released Tuesday on conditions after appearing in Michigan Eastern District Court. The couple's next court date is scheduled for December 2nd.
I feel like that's a little weird. I mean, considering the amount of money they have a $1.5 million man. Wouldn't they be a flight risk? Especially after employing illegals? Like, am I crazy thinking that might be a flight risk? But they already booked it to Mexico.
In New York.
Thank you for that final word. On point. Flying the Mexican flag outside of their $1.5 million house they bought by exploiting the United States. An indictment of our legal immigration system. It's not immigration, it's invasion. That's kind of funny. Not just deporting the illegals. If we cut illegal immigration to be at least half, that would help reduce the demand of day-to-day needs. There needs to be a moratorium. Like, I would love for people who want to come here to just be able to continuously do so. Like, the actual people who want to come to America and be part of the country. Because we have tons of legal immigrants that have been great. And that also hate illegal immigration. But just like we did in the early 1900s, I think putting a moratorium on it while we fix our shit and focus on our people could be very good. Both for people who are coming here legally in the future, as well as those who are citizens now.